Hi, it's Jermaine from livewellzone.com, and in this video we are going to be talking about 5 things that you can start doing today that will help you to feel better a week from now. Okay, now this is not to say that this is going to resolve all of your symptoms within a week, but believe me, these are things that I have tested with women in my community and they have given results over and over. These are things that you can do for a week. You can do one of them, you can do all 5 of them. The more of them you do, of course, the more you stack the odds in your favor that you will start to feel better. The very first thing that we're going to talk about is juicing and smoothies. Okay, so you want to get into the habit of drinking juices and smoothies every single day. So you can either do 1 juice a day and 1 smoothie a day, or if you don't have a juicer, then you can do 2 smoothies. Now, ideally, I prefer the 1 juice and 1 smoothie option because with the juice, you get a lot of nutrients. Not the fiber, but a ton of nutrients. And those nutrients are critical when you're trying to balance your hormones. And then in addition with that smoothie, where you're still gonna get some nutrients, but you're gonna get a lot more fiber. And together, those 2 things will help to make you, for example, more regular. This seems like it might be a small thing, but just being more regular, having more bowel movements is going to help you with detoxification. That is the way you get rid of toxins. Your goal is you want to have at least 1 bowel movement a day, but ideally 2 or more. Again, this might sound excessive, but 2 or more is really going to be so much more beneficial to help you not only get rid of toxins, also get rid of even excess hormones. Okay, so 1 juice, you could have that for breakfast. You could have the smoothie either as an afternoon snack. I think smoothies are great as an afternoon snack when you're starting to maybe feel a little tired, or you could have that smoothie with your dinner, for example. Okay, so not as a substitute for your dinner, but with your dinner. The second option here is if you don't have a juicer, just have 2 smoothies a day. Keep it simple, make it the same recipe. You could make a double batch of 1 recipe in the morning. You have one again with your breakfast, and then you have the other one later in the day whenever you choose to. Now, if you're going to do 2 smoothies a day, there are a few guidelines to make sure that you get the best results from this. All right, so the first thing is you want to make sure that your smoothies only have whole fruits and veggies. They can be frozen, they can be fresh, doesn't matter, but they just need to be whole fruits and veggies, no other preservatives added to them. All right, the next thing is for your protein in that smoothie, you want to stick to whole food protein. That means no protein powder, because protein powder can be very tricky when it comes to your hormones. I have an article on my blog about that. I will link to it, but I'm not going to go into the details right now, except just know that protein powder is not necessarily the greatest when you're trying to balance your hormones. Not for everybody, okay? So whole food protein, this could be nuts, this could be seeds, this could be nut butters, seed butters as well. So things like almond butter or whole almonds, almond milk will also count, peanut butter, as well as, let's say, sunflower seed butter, things of that nature. You can get your protein that way. Hemp seeds, fantastic if you're trying to balance your hormones, because they are they're packed with protein and they're going to give you exactly what you need. Okay. Next thing is no processed sugar in your smoothie. So that smoothie has to be naturally sweetened. If you do need to add a sweetener, you want to stick to raw honey and nothing else. Next is you want to stick to either water or plant-based milk as your liquid. So you want to stay away from cow's milk, and we'll get into why in a minute. And then you also want to make sure that you do not use any special powder. So we're not going to be doing any ashwagandha or maca in this case. Again, like I said, if you're doing 2 smoothies a day, you run the risk of maybe taking too much if you now put some of those powders in both smoothies. So just to be on the safe side and to keep things simple, just stay away from those powders. All right, so really all you're doing, you're just having a whole food smoothie and you're good to go. So that is the first thing. So this is something, this 2 smoothie a day technique, I should say, is something that I started using in 2019. So in the summer of 2019, I was running smoothie challenges. Those were 5-day challenges, and I had women of different ages, different backgrounds, with different hormonal issues that they were trying to work through. Okay, and everybody came into that challenge, and for 5 days, all they did was they drank 2 smoothies per day. They didn't make any other changes to their diet. Okay, and for some people, this within 3 days, people were reporting back with having more energy, better sleep. Some people were saying that their skin was looking a little healthier. So this was, again, just a 5-day thing with no changes to their diet. So if you're at that point where maybe you don't have that motivation, you are physically and emotionally drained from trying to improve your health, but you do want to take some small steps, you can just start just with this first option and nothing else. Just do it for a week and see how you start to feel, see if there are any changes even in your cravings and things of that nature, okay? If you need some help with this, I have a 7-day smoothie reset on my website. I will link to that. You can use that. It has recipes that you can use for an entire week, and it has the same recipes that I used when I first did these challenges back in 2019. Okay, so I'll place a link to that for you. The next thing to try is to take it easy when it comes to your breakfast. So we've all been taught that breakfast is the most important meal of the day and that we should start with a hefty breakfast, basically. And that is true for some people, but sometimes when you have hormonal issues, that can actually backfire on you. And that really has to do with cortisol, because what happens is generally when we wake up in the morning, during those first hours in the morning, our cortisol is supposed to rise for a while normally, okay? But when there are hormonal imbalances, sometimes that natural increase, that natural peak of cortisol doesn't happen the way it should, okay? So which means you're starting your day now feeling drained and a little bit at a deficit. Now, if you add to that a very, very heavy breakfast that is going to put more work on your digestive system, you could actually feel worse, okay? You could feel even more tired, even though it seems like, oh, I should eat something or I should drink caffeine to energize me. It can actually backfire on you. So here's what I suggest doing is, if you need some energy in the morning, focus on energizing yourself again with vitamins and minerals. So the first point I just made about drinking juices and smoothies, that is one way, that is the easiest way for you to just use those things to naturally energize you, okay? So not just juices and smoothies, you could also just do a fruit bowl, for example. You just chop up some fruit and throw that in the bowl. You could even have a salad in the morning if you want. There are no rules around when you eat what, as long as it is healthy for you. So you could even try that and see how you feel, okay? And then if you do need to eat something heavier, so let's say you have your breakfast early. Some people might be eating at 7 a.m., at 8 a.m. So you could have that light drink or fruit bowl earlier in the day, like at 7 or 8 a.m. And then mid-morning, let's say 10 or 11, depending on when you have your lunch. But at mid-morning, you can have a snack, and that snack could not be something a little bit heavier. So maybe you are having some toast with avocados, for example, and some eggs, something like that. Maybe you're even having a small bowl of oatmeal. But the point is, don't necessarily jump out of bed and just throw a ton of food into your stomach. Work your way up to it, because with hormonal issues, sometimes your body can have a harder time getting started with your day, okay? So that's the second thing. Now, third option here is going dairy free. So dairy is a common allergen. And it can trigger a significant amount of inflammation. Okay, so part of what we're doing when we're trying to balance our hormones is that we are also trying to keep that inflammatory response low, because again, that inflammatory response always pulls in cortisol, and once cortisol starts to fall off balance, other hormones start to follow. So going dairy free here means that when it comes to things like milk, you want to stick to plant-based milks. So things like almond milk or oat milk, for example, even rice milk. Get as clean of a brand as you can. It's not always easy, but there are brands out there that don't add any preservatives. They literally just have water and almonds and salt. If you find one of those are ideal. Now, when it comes to other types of, let's say, dairy, so when it comes to like cheese, for example, here you can potentially get away with still eating cheese only because it is fermented, and that fermentation process for some people can make that food a little less inflammatory. So you can give that a try. So go for things like cheese. Since it's fermented, that may be okay, but do make sure you're getting organic cheese, because again, you want to make sure that you're getting cheese from a cow that wasn't potentially given antibiotics or external or growth hormones that may end up in that food product that you are eating. Okay, so that's the third thing. Now, option number 4 is making sure you're eating green veggies twice a day. Okay, So green veggies covers a huge range. Cucumber is a green veggie, celery, kale, spinach, lettuce, and so on and so forth. Broccoli, there's lots of different green veggies. So the goal here is just eat green veggies twice a day. Okay, so you don't need to be measuring. This doesn't need to be very complicated. The whole goal is eat more of it. So again, if we go back to that first point, if you were to make a juice that includes some green ingredients, well, you already are getting yourself some greens that way. Or if you're making a smoothie that includes some type of green food, well, that helps you get closer to your requirements, basically. So you can potentially just drink one of your green foods, and then you can also make a meal. You can cook, maybe do a stir fry or a Buddha bowl, for example, that includes different types of greens, and there you have it. You've covered your requirements for the day. Now, if you want to kill two birds with one stone, you also want to make sure that you're every day in somewhere in those two options that you're getting at least one set of cruciferous vegetables. Okay, so the cruciferous vegetables, these are also known as brassicas. These are the ones that are most known for having compounds that will help you to get rid of excess estrogen. So if you're having any type of symptoms related to estrogen dominance, then you really want to emphasize those green cruciferous veggies. So here we're talking about arugula, Brussels sprouts, green cabbage, broccoli, kale, and so on. Okay, those are examples of your green cruciferous vegetables. So having those in at least one meal, and then maybe putting something like spinach, which is not a cruciferous vegetable, in your smoothie, you can then cover your needs for the day. Now, the fifth and final thing that I'm going to suggest you do is replace some of your meat-based meals with beans. Okay, so to start off, this is not me demonizing meat and saying that it's bad. Okay, this is just looking at what is it that you get from meat and what is it that you get from plants, especially beans. The goal here is when you're balancing your hormones, you want to get the most, the absolute most that you can out of every meal, out of every bite. You want to optimize. Okay, so this is where beans can be a lot more helpful because they will still give you lots of amazing protein, and you'll also get vitamins and minerals and enzymes and of course fiber, lots of good things that your body needs in order to find its own natural balance. All right, so other thing here is that meats can be a little heavy or tedious on your digestive system. So they take longer to break down and longer to get out of your body. Whereas, again, something like beans, easier on the digestive system. Now, of course, you may say, well, I eat beans and maybe I get gas and I get bloating. Part of that is also your gut bacteria. So there is it's kind of a vicious cycle with the gut bacteria in the sense that if sometimes you do not have the bacteria that is necessary to break something down simply because you're not eating it. You almost have to train your gut. So the more you eat certain foods, then the better your gut gets at also developing the right bacteria that will subsequently help you to digest and break down that food. Okay, but you have to expose your body to it in order for it to get familiar with it and know what to do with it on a more regular basis. So concretely, let's say you eat meats currently every single day of the week. Okay, what you can do here is you can start doing every other day. So every other day you replace your meats with some sort of beans, whether it's chickpeas, black beans, red beans, doesn't really matter. Pick any ones that you like and start putting those into your diet. All right, aside from the benefits that I mentioned about getting all that fiber and vitamins and so on, the other major benefit is that beans are one of the best natural sources for inositol. Now, if you have PCOS, then you are quite familiar with inositol and what it can do for you. So not only is inositol just great for PCOS in general, but even if you don't have PCOS and let's say you have like maybe even for mood swings and helping to just stabilize your mood, inositol can be beneficial for that. It's also great for regulating blood sugar. Okay, so again, these are all things that tie into your hormones. So if you just get into the habit of eating more beans, that is going to go a long way towards supporting your hormones. And while we're on the topic of meats, you do want to keep in mind that when it comes to fish, especially fatty fish, that is the one group of meats that are actually quite helpful for you, only because not only do they have that protein, but because they also have those anti-inflammatory healthy fats in them. So if you are going to eat more of a certain type of meat, then fish, fatty fish in particular, that will be the one to prioritize above all others. So you could again eat fatty fish like salmon or mackerel, for example. You could eat, let's say, 2 to 3 times a week of that, and then you could do beans on the other days of the week, for example. Okay, the goal here is, I just, rather than restrict you just to a specific number of days of eating it, what I want you to do is to take all this information that I've given to you and then actually implement it for yourself and see which ones have the most impact for you. Because the fact of the matter is, these are general guidelines. They work for a lot of people, but it may not necessarily work for everybody in the exact same way. So this is where you come into play, because you have to now consume these foods and then see how your body reacts. All right. Okay, so that does it for this video. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I will place a link to the 7-day smoothie reset if you want something that is really simple and easy to just kind of give you a little bit of a jump start. Okay. Now, if you do want something that's a little more comprehensive that will take you through a full month, then I also have a 28-day balancing detox and reset that you can follow. So I will include a link to that in the video description as well. And of course, if you need additional resources, whether it's related to diet, to herbs and supplements, for example, I have additional videos on this channel. I will link to some of the most relevant ones below, as well as some more information that you can only find on my blog. Okay, so I hope that you found this video helpful, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up, and of course don't hesitate to share this with anybody else that would benefit from this information. Thank you so much for watching. If you have comments or questions, leave them below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks so much for watching and have a lovely one. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.